flight simulators. The past year to year and a half has seen the simming world completely shaken up by the arrival of the latest version of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Whether you consider it to be a good thing or a bad thing, Asobo have brought flight simming to the masses, and it seems there's no going back. The good news is that the experience and the joy of flying planes is now on many people's radars. It's also great to see that other sims are taking up the challenge to push their software to all new heights. So, let's jump in and take a look at some of the best flight sims for 2022. XPlane 11 has been one of the heavy lifters within flight simming for a long time now. For many simmers, XPlane 11 was long recommended as one of the de facto flight sims, and to be perfectly fair, it still is. Now, whilst XPlane 11 is certainly one of the best flight sims you can get, I'm going to keep this particular part very short for one very simple reason. XPlane 12 is in development. So if you purchase XPlane 11 right now, XPlane 12 will also require a separate purchase. But that said, if you want to try out the sim that has perhaps one of the highest regarded flight models, then XPlane 11 is certainly the place to look. XPlane 12 represents a massive undertaking for the developers' laminar research. Throughout the later part of 2021, the company slowly revealed their plans on what the new version of the sim will contain. The new feature list then is pretty extensive. Of course, XPlane is already known for having one of the best flight models in the simming industry, so it's a given that this will form the backbone of version 12. There's very little news really overall though as to what improvements or changes will be made to this particular area of the sim. The new features, however, are going to no doubt be very appealing to those who have had their heads turned by the beauty of Microsoft Flight Simulator. XPlane 12 then will contain a variety of new visuals. This will encompass volumetric clouds that react to a new dynamic global weather system. The weather system itself will be informed by local METAR data, however, the sim will take this much further. XPlane 12 will be able to generate full global weather forecasts to supplement the locally available data, and this will mean that weather will be available to move forward in time and change dynamically on a world scale level. A new seasonal model will also be introduced. This will be shader based and means that trees, for example, will change according to the season, just as you can see here. New rain effects will also be available, and these will affect both the environmental objects such as the ground as well as the planes themselves. Laminar's keynote on XPlane 12 contains far more details, so do check out that. It's linked in the video description below. Now here is the big caveat. XPlane 12 currently has no release date, so it's quite possible that it will not make a 2022 release. However, I won't be entirely writing that off either, hence it being included in this video. And to be perfectly fair, at this point it's impossible to mention XPlane 11 without also mentioning XPlane 12. Prepared by Lockheed Martin, for many people is the go-to sim when talking about realism and flight models. 2020 saw the surprise release of version 5 of the sim, and 2021 has seen this updated to version 5.2 and then 5.3. Lockheed then keep on top of their game with regular fixes and updates. Now, whilst the developers are certainly working hard, they rarely give any indication as to the future developments. Version 5 itself is certainly a testament to this, which Lockheed announced so close to its full release. Not a bad thing at all, just a fancy way of me saying there's no news on what to expect in Prepared for 2022. Either way, Prepared remains a quality flight sim, and if you want a great flight model, which is even pretty good with the default built-in planes, then you could do a lot worse than checking this sim out. To put this into perspective, Prepared's primary purpose is for flight education and training, both for civil branches as well as the military. For more details, do check out the link in the video description. Released in 2020, Microsoft Flight Simulator took the world by storm, with gaining attention for both the serious flight simming as well as the casual gamers and casual simmers. It's no doubt a difficult balance for Microsoft and developers Asobo to strike. Pleasing such a broad audience is something that will likely always be a challenge. Now, 2021 saw some significant updates for the sim, and 2022 looks to be no different. Already, Microsoft have announced 12 planned updates for the sim. The plan is to release one per month, alternating between sim updates and world updates. Sim updates focused on core fixes and simulation improvements and additions, World updates focus on content updates such as new bush trips, train updates, as well as cities and airports. Microsoft have already announced that both helicopters and gliders are on the cards for 2022. We also know that the movie tie-in Top Gun expansion will be releasing in the same year. Whilst Microsoft Flight Simulator continues to suffer from a few problems such as crashes and bugs, it nonetheless remains a hugely popular sim, and deservedly so. Its amazing world, beautiful graphics and environments are truly second to none. Also, if you happen to have access to the Xbox Game Pass on either PC or console, then this title is included in your subscription, so really, there's no reason not to try it out. DCS World, also known as Digital Combat Simulator, is easily the most advanced combat sim available. It's constantly well reviewed, receives a lot of high praise, and developers Eagle Dynamics release a ton of updates. What's more, DCS World is free to play. And free to play here also doesn't mean you will find a grind wall or any other such mechanics common to free to play titles. This is a genuine deal, a free game that you can play to your heart's content. DCS World then makes its money by selling additional planes, missions and other content. Now, the flight models for the aircraft is more or less unanimously considered to be excellent and covers aircraft from many different eras. From World War II through to the iconic 80s planes right up to modern day. DCS World then is a sim that will consume all your waking hours to ever have the hope to fully learn, but it's also a sim that many people jump in and have fun with. 2022 then, as with 2021, will no doubt be a great year for DCS World, and this is true whether you are an existing player or just thinking about joining up. With its deep combat, challenging flight systems, wonderful environments, and truly stunning aircraft carriers and planes, this is one to keep an eye on. Aerofly FS2 perhaps doesn't get the attention it deserves. It's a flight simulator that is rarely widely spoken about. However, in the circles it is discussed, it is spoken of quite highly by many. Now, if you look around YouTube, you might notice videos complimenting the great flight model and good graphics. Conversely, however, there's a number of negative Steam reviews that say the precise opposite. That said, generally speaking, the sim has favourable reviews on Steam as well. Now, 2021 was a very quiet year for Aerofly. Sure, it received numerous small patches containing various fixes all throughout the year, which is always very welcome. However, the last major update was released in October of 2020. This contained a slew of new content, including the EC-135 helicopter. Naturally, this was all very well received. Plans for 2022 currently seem to be a mystery. It seems likely there could be some minor updates throughout the year, but as with many things, time will tell. Meanwhile though, Aerofly FS2 remains for the most part, a respected sim. More info can be found below. Whilst DCS World is by far and away the best combat simulator, IL2 Stormer Vic also takes a crack at the reins and does a remarkably good job. This one is firmly a World War II era combat flight sim, and one that has gained a lot of traction over the years. IL2 Stormer Vic then, like virtually all the other sims on this list, has a long history within gaming circles. This sim then is worth looking at if you're a fan of old-style warplanes with a heavy dependence upon good quality simulation. PvP of course is a major focus for the sim, but you can also drop into co-op events as well. As with other flight sims, there is a long list of additional planes and other DLC that can be purchased, although to be fair, the list for this game is way shorter than for more or less all the other sims out there. So, whilst IL2 Stormer Vic might not have vast numbers of players, it nonetheless remains a fan favourite. Now, this one is certainly a bit out of the left field, and technically it's not a flight simulator, yet it's very much about simulating the flight of planes, and so I wanted to include it. Balsa Model Flight Simulator then is all about building your own planes from scratch, and I'm not talking about plastic model kits here, but rather real functional planes that need to follow the rules of aerodynamics. The game comes from developers Floating Origin Interactive and the mind of the once lead developer of Kerbal Space Program. Currently, the game is in early access, however it's also getting plenty of regular updates, so if you like the idea of building a plane from scratch in order to test and improve your scientific knowledge, then you know where to look. That then brings us to the end of this video. Do check out all the links in the video description, where you can find out more information about the respective titles. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.